So as we're doing this interview, this is the very first stop of your day. How does that make you feel?
Just wonderful, John, to wake up and see you first thing in the morning in New York City. Gets no better.
You're inside Madison Square Garden, where your program has had a lot of success. You've been in the Big East Championship game 5 times in your time in the league. I know you would have liked to be on the stage hoisting a trophy, but when you walk into this building and you think about Creighton and where you've taken this program from the time that you entered the Big East to all the success you've had, what comes to mind most?
I mean, I think it's always surreal when you walk in this building. When you think about the history and the great games that have played here and the great players and coaches that have walked that sideline. I like coming in here on a Tuesday better than a Saturday. I haven't had a lot of success on Saturdays in this building, but it's an iconic place, and I'm proud of the way we performed when we played here.
What do you remember about finding out that Creighton was joining the Big East Conference?
I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was sitting in my hotel room in St. Louis for Arch Madness, and we were in a hotel where I could see the arch out my hotel window, and I got the call from Bruce Rasmussen, our athletic director at the time, and there were some rumblings, but I don't think any of us took it very serious at the time. And then to find out it was immediately, it was going to be next season. It wasn't like we're going to wait a year, and so the enormity of that was pretty huge. And obviously, we're still trying to prepare to play in the Valley tournament, in the NCAA tournament. But it was an exciting time for our university, for our community, and I think it's been a great marriage.
How would you describe what that marriage has been between the two?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's pressure on our end, right? Like, let's make sure we bring value to this league. Let's try to make sure the decision makers made the right decision. So from that standpoint, we were hoping that we could bring value to this league and we could be an add-on. What the league has done for us, we probably underestimated. Just the national profile of our program and of our university and how that's changed because of our partnership with the Big East has been absolutely incredible.
Last April, it gets announced that you'll plan on handing the keys to Alan Huss. You bring him back. He's coming off a terrific season at High Point, taking them to the NCAA tournament. Take us through your thought process. How long had you been thinking about something like this, and how did it actually come to fruition?
Yeah, I was thinking about it probably back around Christmas time, and probably made the first call to Al in February just to gauge his interest. Like, hey, I don't have any idea if this would even be possible, if I'm ever going to wrap my arms around it, if I can get the people I work for to wrap my arms around it, but what do you think? And I said, give it some time and call me back. And, we had a lot of conversations between that point and the end. But, it's you see what happens across college athletics when a coach leaves. Programs get decimated. And with the program being decimated, there goes the culture, and you have to rebuild that. And I don't want that to happen to our program. I've invested a lot in it. I've always wanted one of my guys to replace me, if that were possible. And they all went out in the world, and they all probably did too well. DeVries gets the Indiana job, so, he's out. And Al was my associate head coach during a great time in our program's history, and the opportunity to bring him back, being a Creighton graduate, wore the uniform, understands it, bleeds it, embraces the Omaha community. He checked really every box, and I wanted to be able to leave and feel good about leaving when that time comes.
Ahead of this season, as we are talking, what's your updated thought on how much longer you want to go?
I haven't really given myself a timeline. Just when you reach the point, and I've talked to a lot of guys that have reached this point in their career, and it's kind of like when you reach the point where you don't feel like you're giving those young people and your staff, the people that are around you every day, when you're not giving them everything you have, then it's probably time to walk away. And I'm not there yet. I still love being at practice every day. I love the interactions with the young people. I love game planning with our staff and figuring out how to put together a team. Those things still really excite me. But when the time comes, it comes, and I'm not sure when that'll be.
What's it say about Creighton and the people around the place that they said back to you Okay. Like that, what your plan is, we're good with.
Yeah, Father Hendrickson and Marcus Blossom were awesome to work with during it, and obviously they had to have a lot of conversations with Coach Huss, when I wasn't in the room. But we're really unique, and Coach Altman was at Creighton 16 years, had opportunities to go a lot of other places. I'm entering my 16th year, had some opportunities to leave, and neither of us left. And I think it has a lot to do with the people. Our support system in Omaha is incredible. The people at the university have really embraced athletics and invested in athletics. And my hope is once we get down the road another 17, 18 years that there's only been 3 coaches at Creighton in a 50-year period.
When you think about this Creighton team that you have, coaches are sleeping easier at night knowing that Ryan Kalkbrenner is not on the other side of a game plan. I know all the memories, all the wins that you collected with him, not one person replaced him, and naturally you miss what that kid brings to the table. What is this Creighton team's identity going to be?
One coach isn't sleeping as easy at night as he has in the past because Ryan Kalkbrenner's gone, and that would be me. He was a unicorn, and when you 5 years of practice with him in there, and now all of a sudden he's out, it's just different. His voice became such a proud and loud and proud, consistent voice every single day, and just the things that he created for us defensively, the gravity he created offensively, his ability to screen with physicality, his ability to play without fouling, and he was a great teammate and a great leader. So there's you miss so many parts of what he brought to the table, and we're gonna have to replace that by committee. And he was 1 of 1 in college basketball last year, so obviously it's very difficult to replace. But certainly appreciative of everything that he did to help elevate our program.
How would you break down, Greg, when you walk out of a tunnel in this conference, and it's twice and for some 3 times a year, and you're going up against the likes of Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley, Shaka Smart, your golfing buddy, you're better than him, Ed Cooley, and now Kevin Willard back in the league, among others, several terrific coaches. That dynamic and just when you're thinking about who's on the other side of these games.
Yeah, it's across this league, the coaching is terrific, and they're all good people. That at the end of the day, I think that's what makes our league special, is that we can compete against each other. We want to beat each other's brains in January, February, and March. But in the non-conference portion of the season, we've got each other's backs. We're pulling for one another. NCAA tournament, there's always a text thread amongst those that are in the NCAA tournament, encouraging and congratulating. So I don't think that exists in every league. I think it makes the Big East unique, and I think that was very important from the start, 15 years ago or 13 years ago, whatever it was. And that was driven by Jay Wright. Like, we have to do this together if we're going to build this league, and he was right. So, there's great coaches across the league. There's great programs across the Big East, and it's been awesome for us to be part of.
What does Josh Dix do best on the court, and what do you need from him?
Josh is really well-rounded, and one of the most complete players I've ever coached, and I need him to be and you're going to find out in a second when you talk to him, I need him to be a little bit more of a voice, and that's challenging when you come in from a different program and you're one of the new guys. Even though you're a senior, it's kind of hard to maybe make sure your voice is part of the daily routine, and that's something that Josh and I are working on. But defensively, he's going to guard the other team's best player. He handles the basketball for us. He shoots it at a high level. He's got a bright future in this game, and I'm excited that his last year is going to be at Creighton.
When you think about Jackson McAndrew and what he can be for the Creighton Bluejays, what pops in your head?
Yeah, he's a tricky one because I've known him since he was a baby, basically. So, just to watch his growth on a daily basis has been very enjoyable for me. And, he's fallen in love with the process of improvement and getting better, and he does it not at the expense of anyone else. He's a terrific teammate, and I think his added strength has added some elements to his game that weren't there last year. So I would expect a pretty significant jump in year 2.
You and I have been talking for a number of years about this very topic, but for the national viewer, who somehow is still unfamiliar with a program that's won NCAA tournament games in 5 consecutive seasons, 3 Sweet 16s in that time. What do people underestimate about Creighton basketball?
I think one of the things is, when someone hasn't been to Omaha before, I think they're pleasantly surprised by the city and what it has to offer. And then I think once they walk into the CHI Health Center, it's holy smokes, there's 18,000 people here. I just think that there's a level of support there that maybe probably falls under the radar a little bit nationally, even though when the attendance figures come out at the end of the year, we're always 5th, 6th, 7th in the country in attendance. But I don't think people think about us that way in little Omaha, Nebraska. But it's a special place, John, and it's a sports town through and through. I mean, anybody that's been to the College World Series, our community supports it in a first-class manner. So Omaha's a really special place.
And my last question to you is, when I got this job, I got one text from all the people that congratulated me, and the one text was, wow, now I get to get rid of you. That was what you said to me.
And little would I know, you're the first one I'm going to see when I show up in New York City. So I thought I was done with you, John, but I guess we're stuck with each other, pal.
How does the makeup look?
I didn't notice you had any on.